Hi everyone, it's Lisa and welcome to Make It Monday. Today I'm going to teach you how to make what I'm calling the Seaside card. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I have a little bit of a variegated background here and that's pretty much what I'm going to focus on. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how I made this project. I used a half a sheet of crumb cake cardstock and I just folded it in half. And if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I'm a fan of my bone folder. Then I've cut two pieces that are going to be layered that are here. The crumb cake is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and this is Night of Navy at 3 1/2 and 3 1/2. So these are going to make that panel behind the images on the front of my card. Okay, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my stamp set by the Tide, and I'm going to use the piece of coral with the crumb cake ink, and I am going to ink up my coral. And I'm going to stamp an image down here near the bottom. I just want a little faint image on the base of the card just to add some credence to the background, and then using my Stampin' Scrub to clean it off, because I'm going to need to use that stamp in another color in just a minute. Now let's talk about how I made the background. I took a piece of Whisper white cardstock and my Marina Mist ink pad and a brayer. What I did is I went ahead and I used it this way. Now this rolls. It's all self-contained. This does snap off so that you can wash it. I just make sure I dry it out really good so there's no water left inside that little crease there. And you can change colors. But this little rubber wheel, just by rotating it, I don't know if you can see, I'm going around and around to get ink. Make sure you don't go this way on your ink pad, because you need the width to cover the wheel. And I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit. And the next thing I did is we just rolled back and forth on my cardstock. Now you're going to have to do this several times, but it's quick. And you're going to want to go in every direction. I know you're looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, that's so ugly. But it's not going to be when we're all done. So I'm just going to go back over this several times. Turning this, and now I'm going to go the other way. And any of these areas where there's extra coverage, that's not even a problem, because that's what gives us that variegated look on the background. Because you know the depths of the sea have different shades of color. Okay, so that's pretty much what I did. You can pop this off underneath the kitchen sink, or you can just clean it on your Stampin' Scrub. Either way works. Next thing I did is I used my color spritzer tool. I really, really like this thing. It's not high tech at all. It's real simple. You're going to use the brush end of your marker, and it goes down inside the barrel, and then you're going to tighten the screw just so that it holds the marker. And then just by squeezing this, it's going to splatter ink. You see that? It's going to splatter ink on the cardstock. Okay? Some areas are going to have more, some areas are going to have less. It's just supposed to be very, very random. When you're done, make sure you recap your marker. Now, I've been asked this before, how do you clean this? Well, it's just really simple. I kind of tap it on my scratch paper and just give it a squeeze so that there's any excess ink near the tip, it's going to get blown out. Because if you go behind here with like a yellow marker, you know, the blue and the yellow could come out with a green coloration. You never want to add water to this, so please don't do that. That won't be good. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my square punches. I have the 1 1/4 inch square and the 1 3/8 inch square. So the 1 1/4 inch square, I am going to punch out 4 of these. Now, I love this size piece of paper because I can make a whole bunch of cards at one time. Okay, I'm going to line them up on top of my grid paper. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I did when I made a bunch of them. For instance, I made 4 cards at a time. I inked up the coral and I stamped all 4 of these images at once, which gave me a different piece of coral on each one of these squares, one for each of the 4 cards that I made. Because on one card, I just used one piece here. The other thing I did is I watched my customers when they came to my birthday bash stamp camp, and they did some really fun things with this when they were making multiple cards. This is the Night of Navy ink. They took the fish, and I'm going to separate these a little bit, and they left 2 squares together, and they stamped the front and the back fish like so that it took up 2 different squares, which I thought was so cute when it was mounted. The second thing was the seahorse, and they did up and down like this, and inked them like so. So you had top and bottom, and it looked really, really cute on the card when it was all finished. So then I used my 1 3/8 inch square punch and scraps of Night of Navy cardstock, and I punched out 4 of those for each card. Okay, you get the idea. And then I used my snail adhesive. I found just a strip at the top and a strip at the bottom was plenty, and then I mounted them so that they would be bordered. Now when it was all finished, I went back to these 2 squares here, got adhered together, and put like here, and more snail in the back. So because the snail adhesive is so strong and it works really well, when you're going to piece out your card and you want to just kind of get an idea of where your pieces go, just kind of set it down. Don't push too hard, because obviously if you go to lift it, it's going to rip. Then you can pick this one up gently and then reposition it as well if you need to. So that's how I did that. And then obviously, you know, another piece here. And then I used a piece of coral, here's my original card, to fill up that 4th spot. Again, you can just do a little bit of mixture on here. The great thing about this sheet of paper that we created, you can make lots of cards on this. So this is a lot of bang for a little bit of time. And then last but not least, I used the Petite Pears stamp set. And I used the Happy Birthday Wishes. And I stamped it right on the same piece of paper that I punched the squares from, and I punched out my words. Now, here's a great tip. Make sure you stamp first, then punch. A lot of people have a tendency to want to punch out the piece first and then stamp. That makes it really difficult to center. So here's a great trick. Stamp first, then punch, because then you're guaranteed to make sure you have your words in the center every single time. And then all I did was tuck part of this from behind here before I mounted it to my card. That's it. Nice and simple. So I hope that you can use your brayer, pull it out if you've had one for years, and ink that thing up and get going. If you don't, this is a great little investment, and I encourage you to buy one. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. Thanks for joining me this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week for Make It Monday.